What is non-physical wanting to co-create with those of us in the physical?
You have to remember that you are an extension of source energy. You are on the leading edge of thought. So as you are here, allowing through your presence here the exposure to all of this magnificent contrast, which is causing new ideas to be formulated within you, these are new ideas that the entire universe is experiencing. And so when the new idea is born within you, source energy rushes toward the fulfillment of that, and it is enormously satisfying. This workshop is not about any of that. Let us say that in a different way. Source energy understands that the expanding universe is a given, and source energy is joyously part of that expansion. And so when you are in the middle of contrast, great or small, let's say it's great for sake of this example, and a powerful desire is born within you, which means the asking has taken place. And when you ask, it is always given. So now that source energy moves forward toward the fulfilling of that. This inner being, or God source, or whatever you're wanting to call this source energy, is joyous in that expression and in that expansion. This workshop is not about that, because that happens. In other words, you ask and it is given, and that's the co-creative relationship the source energy has with all of this. This workshop is about you getting in on it too. We want you to get yourself into a vibrational place where you can experience the joy of the expansion too. Source energy, inner being, is having it whether you have it or not, whether you allow it or not. The desire being born is what this expanding universe is all about. Physical beings think that it's about the physical expansion, and the physical expansion is inevitable, but it isn't about the physical expansion. It's about the vibrational expansion. When you think about it, all that is your source is not physically focused. In other words, it is a universe of thought. It is a universe of experience. It is a universe of love. It is a universe of joy. And so Jerry asked that question early on of us, what's in it for you, Abraham? And we said, joyous expansion. In other words, what's in it for us is the joy of leading edge beings like you, having leading edge experiences and allowing thought to go where it has never been before.
Is that the greater good that the universe wants, is wanting?
Well, you have to understand that good is the order of all things. And in an expanding universe, it will continue to be more and more. So greater good is inevitable. In other words, when people talk about the greater good, what we're talking about is the art of allowing. Any individual who is focused upon the greater good, our encouragement to them would be get into the place of allowing the source energy that is always good to flow. Well-being really is the order of the day. And sometimes physical beings, physical humans, lose their place in that because you'll watch a news broadcast that's almost all about things going wrong, and it gives you a distorted view. If your news broadcast was really proportionate, if the well-being of your planet was taken into consideration, all of the things that went well, the Earth spinning in its orbit, the perfect balance of the water, the life force in the food, well-being is enormous. If the balance of well-being as compared to those that are, for whatever reason, disallowing the well-being here and there, were put into an hour news broadcast, there'd be a piece of static go across the screen. You say, oh, what was that? What was that? The rest of it would be well-being. It is so huge, you couldn't even factor it into an hour broadcast or a day broadcast or a week broadcast. The comparison is so little, it's just a little piece of static. And you say, oh, something must have gone wrong somewhere. Or you'd say, oh, that represented everything that went wrong everywhere in our society today.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. What more? Yes, right here.
I've always been into inventing and stuff like that, so I'd like to know, how do I align myself with the unknown, like a new idea, invention, insight, or an intangible, like a strong aptitude for learning, mentally and physically?
First of all, we would say to you, you absolutely can have as much success as anyone you've ever known. I want to begin there. All that's required is you get in a place where you are truly asking. And so where do most ideas for inventions come from?
Necessity.
In other words, it's something that you say, that would be helpful. That would be a helpful thing. And so as you put yourself in the position of the end user and you imagine how it would feel to have this contraption that would give you this benefit, and you don't get bogged down in the, well, how will I achieve it, or where will I get the money, or who will actually do the thing, or who has the technology, which causes a resistance in your vibration that slows it almost to a screeching halt right away and it doesn't go any further. If you can stay in that place of thinking about what you want and why you want it, in that vibration the answers will flow to you. Jerry and Esther were just laughing because they're in the very pre-stages of organizing a 3-day conference in the year 2003 that they will hold in Asilomar on the ocean in California. And as they've begun the preliminary processes, they are planning to have some early gatherings where, because they are expecting large numbers, they will break into smaller groups where they will isolate some questions and get very well focused about questions. And then they will send 1 or 2 or 3 spokespeople from their breakout session to the larger gathering so that more people will have an opportunity to have verbal input, and there will be a lot of cooperation in the formulating of the question, which always makes for a more exuberant receiving. And so they've been talking about it for a day or two. And as they came to this hotel and saw all of the signs for all of the breakout rooms, Jerry said, "Isn't it interesting? We've been talking about this. Never seen that in this fashion. In the very first gathering, here are wonderful easels and wonderful signs. In other words, they collect all kinds of data for the implementation of what they are going about." It's always that way. Whatever it is that you are identifying is your question, the answers begin to come readily to you every single time. There is not any reason that anyone, no matter what their skill or background, should have greater success in inventing anything than you.
How can we be pure positive energy connected to all that is, which includes our wants and wants that are not wanted? Isn't this splitting of energy?
What do you mean by wants that are not wanted?
Well, there is the thing that you want, and automatically there is the thing that you don't want.
In other words, in every particle of the universe, there's what is wanted and the absence of it.
Right. Now, how can you, if we're connected to everything that all that is, which is true, right?
You are.
How can one not be a part of the negative? I guess my question is, it seems like we're naturally split in energy. I mean, there is the wanted and there is the not wanted. And it seems like if we're a part of everything.
Let us approach it from a different direction, and then we'll come back to the specifics of what you're asking. In every particle of everything is what is wanted and lack of it. But you would not have the ability to perceive what is wanted without the what is not wanted being potentially there. In other words, there is breadth or absence of it. There is clarity or absence of it. And so without that ability to perceive the presence or absence of something, you couldn't fine-tune the particulars of your desire. In other words, this is the
But
balance.
we don't put the emphasis. So we're aware of the negatives, but we just don't put our attention on them.
Well, from the perspective of source energy, here we think this is the specific answer that you are looking for. The difference between, the only difference, in fact, worth mentioning, between the non-physical source energy aspect of you and the physical human aspect of you is that that non-physical part of you can perceive the variety without pushing against any of it. In other words, it can all exist, and the non-physical part of you just chooses its preference, while the physical part of you often, rather than choosing your preference, wants to push against the part not wanted. And it's the pushing against the part not wanted that includes the part not wanted in your vibration.
But that part that's not wanted is still part of you.
That part that's not wanted exists, but it's not active in your vibration unless you make it active in your vibration.
Well, how is it active in any case if it's not active in your vibration? I mean, it exists.
Well,
I mean, you're
now
part of it.
We're talking about frequencies and vibrations again. In other words, so what's tripping you up is the idea that if I'm part of all that is, and all that is includes all that is, then isn't within all that is some negative stuff that is not wanted. And And we say, in all that is, there is everything that is potential, but the only thing that is active in any participant's experience at any time is what they've activated by giving their attention to it. And so it is our promise to you that as your source energy focuses, for example, upon the bombing in Afghanistan, your source energy is feeling the desires of everyone who's participating within it. The mother who's running with her child, for example, is exuding rockets of desire. And source energy is taking that desire and focusing purely upon that desire, and so is running the energy relative to that. In other words, source energy never chooses what is not wanted and focuses upon that and makes that part of the active vibration that is within.
Okay. I have some more questions. Just want to...
We didn't get to where you're wanting to go with that. Let us add just one more piece to that. Every thought that has ever been thought still exists. So let's say that a culture has focused upon cancer, and they are running commercials about it, and they are having experiences about it, and people are individually talking about it, and some people are actually experiencing it. So it is a part of physical experience, and therefore it is a part of all that is. But what it is the manifestation in a physical sense of what humans do when they don't allow the well-being. We promise you, source energy never focuses upon cancer. It never focuses upon the experience of it. It never focuses upon the trauma of it. But what source energy does focus upon is, as the person who is living it in their trauma has a rocket of desire that says, I want wellness, that's what source energy focuses upon. So, yes, cancer exists in this realm of all that is, but it exists as man's creation in his disallowing the well-being that would be there otherwise. And your source is never a part of that. That's why you feel the distinction. In other words, if your source energy, here's a good way of looking at it. You know, when you feel negative emotion, it's because you've chosen a thought that source energy is not in compliance with. If you could choose a thought that source energy was in compliance with, it would feel like a soothing, good-feeling thought. You get a sense of what we're talking about? So, being the pioneers that you are out here on the leading edge, this is how you know when you are reaching outside of the energy that is your source.
Okay. One last question.
We do not believe that for a minute.
No, I know. I think people are just getting tired of me asking questions. But I thought, I'm really into this concept of deliberate creation, and so all these questions really were important to me so that I could really become a deliberate creator.
Important
and
to everyone.
Enjoy the process. I mean,
Yes.
One of my questions was, Thomas Edison was a positive person. It took him almost 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. Now, if he had known what the science of deliberate creation is trying to teach here, how would he have gone about that? Could he have condensed that time?
Yes, and we're going to come back and answer that question specifically. But there's a bigger thing that we're wanting to talk about in response to that question, and that is, as you stand in your physical now and you look back on all of the failures that Thomas Edison had, and you feel the frustration or the discomfort of his failures, you are misunderstanding who he was. He was enjoying the journey.
Yes.
You see. And that's why what we said earlier is so important when we said you never get it done. It's like saying, I want to go on a vacation, and I'm going to go to this city and this city and this city and this city and this city, and then eventually I'll come home. And then you say, oh, well, I'm already home, and since that's my final destination, then why go? I've already accomplished this vacation. And you say, well, you didn't go to complete it. You went for what would happen along the way, for the people that you would meet, for the exposure to the experiences, for the opportunity to feel energy flowing through you. And so when you realize that the goal is not to get to some end result, the whole reason that the idea of the end result even exists is because it will lead you on a journey that is joyful in nature. Those failures were life-giving. Each failure produced a clearer desire so that what he ended up with was far more than he started out even wanting. Every failure gave him a further idea and launched a clearer, more dynamic desire which source energy could answer further. So bless those seeming failures, because they are just another door opening and another door opening and another door opening. on this path of endless doors opening. And once you get over the feeling that you're someday going to get it done and be complete, life starts being a whole lot more fun, because it is our promise to you, you never get it done.